All right, good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to do something new where I record my audio while I watch the video and see how this turns out. So we're riding from Western Washington University to Fairhaven today on the electric unicycle. You can see here I'm on the Inmotion V11 and I'm currently leaving my place. I've got the Insta360 camera and I'm heading up to Western Washington University right now. You can see I'm all geared up. I've got all my winter riding gear on because it still looks pretty cold and gray out that day. You can see I'm heading up this pathway here, and you can see the cars off to my right. You can see the suspension of this little V11 just crushing it up the hill here. The cool feature with that Insta360 is you can zoom in and zoom out and get very wide angles like that, and then flick it across to, excuse me, these different riding and filming styles, because I ride kind of uniquely, and so with the 360 cam in front of you or behind you, you get very different results actually. So you can hear him, you can see him heading up to the campus here. Heading by one of the WTA buses. So this campus is really unique. It's got amazing architecture, and it's a really great spot to cruise in as you're heading to other locations around the city that I like to ride. And on this ride, you'll see I cruise around to quite a few different spots. And here's the camera angle kind of flicked out in front of me so you can see the buildings. Kind of see I'm doing some seated riding here. I'm slurping on some tea in the background here, so don't mind the noises. So I'm heading through the campus. You can see these different structures and art pieces. That's like the old rose garden. In a couple weeks, that's going to look really beautiful. I'm heading out into the red square here, kind of the main walking center of Western. Kind of zinging through here pretty quickly. Yeah, I've had this Inmotion V11 now since July of 23, and I've really enjoyed how smooth it is, how easy it is to ride. And I've came from two other unicycles. I have a Kingsong 16X, which I absolutely love and still ride. That was my maybe third or fourth unicycle. And then after the upgrade to the 16X, I then got this Kingsong S22, which some people know about. That was one of the big first full suspension wheels, and I got that in September of, I believe it was 22, maybe. And the Kingsong S22, the red one, has been kind of problematic since I've owned it. It's got multiple flat tires because it's very heavy, and for me to get really good traction on that wheel, I need to deflate the wheel a little bit so I can actually not slide around and fall off the thing. And I get a lot better traction if I take some of the air pressure out of the tire. So you can see in this video, this tire is pretty pumped up on the V11, and I've learned to ride with more air in my tires. And I only weigh about 125 to 130 pounds, and that extra grip on a 60-pound wheel really makes a big difference. And you can see I'm just kind of ripping through the campus here as I'm heading down a pretty steep hill into this little corner, and then I shoot back up this little roadway here. That tea is hitting really good today. I got a citrus mate tea, and I've got a winter spice mixed, and it is very good. You can see here, I'm leaving the campus and heading up to Western's Sehome. All right, so this is the Sehome Hill Arboretum, and you can still see the Western campus right there. Here I'm doing some seated riding and just kind of seat bopping around. It's kind of like a big kid on a booster seat. If anyone out there has kids, it's an extremely fun way to get around. You kind of feel like a 2-year-old sitting on your electric unicycle, zooming around. But oh, this was hilarious. That kid was gonna tip that log over, and he's like, "Watch yourself." We were kind of had a funny interchange back there. He was joking around. He was gonna try and tip that log over and block the roadway for me, but he wasn't. On this V11, I've recently learned to do the seated riding, and it's quite comfortable. Uphill, downhill, and kind of cornering, and just honestly navigating around. It's super fun. I have honestly not ridden seated riding on the King Song 16X. I just got a seat for that this summer, maybe in October of 24. Or sorry, October of 23. And so I've had the seat for the 16X for maybe a couple months, but that seat is very different. It's very wide, and my knees hit that one, and so it actually bruises my knees. And the 16X is a little bit harder to ride with a seat, but with the V11, as you can see here, it's so comfortable and just smooth with that couple inches, 3 inches of travel. In my air shocks on this V11 here, I've got, I think, about 85 pounds of air on the main down suspension tubes. And with the stock pump that the V11 comes with, you can kind of regulate how much air you have in the shocks. And it makes quite a difference, going from like, say, 60 pounds to 80 pounds to 100 pounds. The machine rides very differently. So for me, at the moment, I've got it set at about 85 pounds. And again, I weigh about 125 to 135 pounds with gear on. And about 85 pounds of air seems to be really good. When you're hitting bumps, going off curbs, you're not bottoming out. You have still a little bit of cushion at the bottom, I can feel. But if you're down at, like, say, 65 pounds of air, it seems like I bottom out off like curbs and little stair sets and things. So that extra 20 pounds of air is really nice. So that's the top of the Arboretum. You can see that's the viewpoint, kind of the tree fort back there. If you walk up and look out, you can look out over Bellingham Bay, and then off to the right, you can see up into like the Twin Sisters and Mount Baker area, and look out over Lake Whatcom. You can't really see the lake at all, but you can see out in that direction. So this Arboretum is really cool. It's got a couple, you can see below there on that Y, there's another paved road that goes below and then reconnects to another spot. In this video where I was coming up the hill, that lower road that you just saw connects to that hill coming up. So you have two different routes that you can come up the Arboretum for walking, hiking, biking, and unicycling. And then right through that little gate right there, off to my right, there's a little bike trail or walking trail you can go down. And you're technically not supposed to do it on the EUC, but some people do in the summers. Another e-biker there. Kind of nice to see other people out cruising around even in the winters. For me, it's really nice to just take little breaks on the weekends, get outside, breathe some fresh air. Um, Hopefully be around some people that are happy to be outside as well, and kind of share that experience and say hi to some local neighbors. This spot on the Arboretum is really cool. It's one of my favorite spots. It's just very peaceful. All the trees around are very grounding. It's very relaxing. You can usually hear trees. There's usually no one in this area, so it's very just silent. There's no cars, no talking, no road noise. And you can't really tell, but this hill is steeper than it appears. And it's probably maybe 20% grade, maybe even more. And on a car, it's pretty steep, but on a bike or an EUC, it's pretty noticeable. And like if you were on a skateboard, you'd be going like 30 miles an hour down that corner there. It's extremely steep. And then this is kind of coming down. It flattens out a little bit. Off to my right, you can see up the hill, or my left in the video. My left up the hill, you can see just these pencil trees. Just beautiful forestry. It's really nice. I really enjoy seeing the light in the afternoon come through, create these light beams through these little toothpick trees. It's very cool. You can kind of see I'm holding the Insta360 cam out in front of me with my left hand to the right, and I'm trying to get kind of a cool view. You can see my feet, kind of the whole electric unicycle there. I've got a backpack with some food and water, and I'm just heading down the Arboretum, as you can see now, and it's pretty steep. It's probably a 20% grade. Probably be doing about 12 to 15 miles an hour, just kind of dinking around, cruising, having fun. Probably deciding where I'm going to go next. But yeah, it's really fun to just get out of the house and be able to roll on this thing. Super fun to play around with some camera angles, get creative. All right, so we're all done with my tea. I am back to the video. And so that's the bottom of the Arboretum here. And I try and go up to this area once a week if I can, just because of how nice and peaceful it is. And then I'm heading over in the woods here, heading over to Sehome High School. Kind of another location that has some trails behind it that kind of head over to Fairhaven. I'm assuming that's where I'm kind of heading. But you can see all these gigantic bumps in the road here. All the roots of the trees are going under the concrete, and it creates these gigantic bumps. And on this V11 with the suspension, it's really fun to go cruise around and bump around on these. When you're standing or sitting, you get a very different experience, so it's pretty fun. So here I am heading into Sehome High School, which they've redone. You can see I'm giggling it up quite a bit because EUC, while you're seated, you feel like Aladdin, but you feel like you're 3 years old and you're on something you shouldn't be, but it is such a fun experience. You really feel the wind. You hear, just amazing clarity of, kind of nature sometimes, and just it really creates a peace throughout your day. And you're not listening to music, people's voices. You're just hearing nature and wind. And it's kind of meditative and very relaxing. You can see here I'm heading down behind Sehome High School. And this is heading to these little Greenways gravel trails. And they're kind of these awesome connecting Greenways trails that head over all the way to Fairhaven. And one of the cool things about living in Bellingham, Washington, is the fact that they say you can live on any side of this town or city, and you're supposedly able to get around where you need to go by Greenways trails because of the trail systems and the park systems here. And I think that is a very cool feature of our area. And you see more states and cities kind of adopting or following suit with that and creating trail systems for walking, hiking, biking, just more people being out in nature, which I think is awesome. You can see here, I'm kind of near Joe's Gardens, and I'm heading over to Fairhaven. I'm going to pop onto another little greenway trail here in a second. I just really love getting outside, cruising around on these unicycles, and seeing nature and my city from all these kind of unique perspectives. When you're driving around in a car, you're really focused on not crashing and hurting yourself and someone else. And when you're doing this, playing around outside, you're able to slow down. And some days, you can see here, I'm cruising pretty good, but you can really get a different perspective of your city, nature, different parks, trails, and you do have to pay attention on these things. They're not super easy to ride, but they do take quite a bit of attention and making sure your feet and body positioning is in the right spot so you don't fall off and kill yourself. You can see here I'm seat bopping around, hitting corners, going uphill, downhill. Now I'm standing, and you can see I'm heading into this loose gravel, kind of hitting that berm. And as you come down, there's like little roots in here, and then you get this like little up section and down section. It's just a super fun little area to cruise around in. I get so much enjoyment, just on certain spots of these trails, and it's, again, you're out in nature, you feel like you're in the middle of nowheres, and there's typically not anyone around, so it's a very freeing experience, very relaxing. Oh, there's some people. I remember that biker, I think he kind of hit my shoulder, he wasn't really paying attention. You can see the 360 pole. I'm trying to go around some people, and going slow, giving your presence and saying, I'm to your left, I'm to your right. Hopefully people recognize that. And when you say going to your left, hopefully they don't walk into your left. It's hilarious. Probably 30 to 50% of the people I say, go into your left, go into your right, they literally walk to that side and walk in front of you and almost kill you. So you have to be pretty mindful as you're doing these sports, and whether people are sober or not. Just have to be super mindful, because it's probably not you that's going to cause the accident. It's typically someone else not paying attention. So, but you can usually avoid some pretty unfortunate accidents if you're paying attention, and hopefully you can get out of their way. So I've been in many instances where if I'm able to get out of the way, I can usually avoid a pretty bad crash. Look at the ducks. There's all these little ponds and ducks. They probably had a bunch of their little babies out cruising around. So this would have been late March of 24 that this was filmed. And today is the 30th of the month, so I'm guessing I filmed this probably a couple days back to a week ago. And probably on a Saturday or Sunday. Just trying to get out of the house, and in between rain or something. This hill's pretty fun. You can really carve down this one. It doesn't look steep in this view, but it's probably a 15-degree grade, and you can go 20, 25 down it easily. And it's just really fun. You can literally carve that street like you're skiing. It's extremely fun. Get some really deep cornering and carves in, and just kind of get some practice so you feel more comfortable on the wheel. I try and kind of jib around where I'm carving, I'm, playing with my feet around a lot. So I'm constantly playing with different footing positions, and um, my feet fall asleep really easily. So I've constantly got to move them around on the pedals. And you can see I've even got the cheese grater, the cool pedals for this thing. And I can't remember what they're called, but I call them the cheese grater pedals because they're so vicious to your feet and your shoes. But those pedals spread the weight distribution a lot better than just a solid pedal, one piece. And the webbing of the pedals really distribute your weight. And so this machine seems to get my feet don't fall asleep as easy, let's say. So I like cruising around on this machine, and when you're able to sit and take a lot of the pressure and weight off of your feet, um, with this seated electric unicycle, it's really nice. And having a decent pair of shoes always helps too. But those pedals, the seat, and then just carving around a lot, your feet are constantly moving, and that way your muscles aren't just being strained on. So I find if I'm in the same position where I'm going up a hill for a long time, going down a hill for a long time, if I'm just riding straight and not doing anything, I find my feet or muscles kind of get bound up or constricted. So I try and move around quite a bit. And it's just more fun when you're kind of jibbing, carving around like a little kid. So in a lot of these little, when I'm out on the uni, it's I'm constantly laughing and trying to make little funny jokes because this was the day it was super wet. And I remember I turned around because I didn't want to get sand in my bearings. I remember that now. I had my King Song S22. I went out on a rainy day, and that EUC is notoriously bad for getting water, sand, anything like that, obviously, in the motor or batteries, and bearings. And so I went out on a big rain ride one day with my dad, and I got a ton of water and sand in the bearings, and the thing basically has not ridden right since that day. So I've had to repair it with new bearings, and then the motor and electrical has not been the same, not been proper since those changes. So basically, it's a $3,000 paperweight at the moment. I'm looking to get it fixed, hopefully this spring and summer, but right now I'm just riding the V11 as seen here, and then the King Song 16X, which is really fun. With that new seat, I do enjoy that. It's pretty fun. So I'm heading back to Fairhaven from that would have been the 100-acre woods area where I turned around. You can still see that the trails are still pretty wet in this area, and you can see there's water and sand and dirt getting on my Insta360 camera here, so I'm wiping that off. But yeah, it's a pretty cold, wet day, and it's just dry enough to, be even on the trails. Probably should have been on the road most of that day, but I really like being in the trees and breathing some fresh air as much as I can. So here I'm heading back over to Fairhaven, trying to get on the Greenways trails again in a minute. And it's, there's all these little connector roadways and places to cruise around on with these bike paths, which is really pretty cool. And again, you can really connect a lot of this town if you know where you're going. So up to the right in that screen, that's where the 100-acre woods entrance, one of them is. And there's some really cool trails, old biking and BMX trails, walking, hiking, dog hiking trails back there. It's a really great little area. I've been riding that area since I was probably 5 years old, so going on 30 years now. Here we are cruising through the Greenways trails, heading over to Fairhaven. There's all these little river and waterways. I think it's called Fairhaven Creek, I believe. And that's kind of the creek that's running along to the right in the video here. And there's some cool little trails or walkways you can get down to the river if you want. You can see a bunch of people are out on this day. It was kind of cool. I try and make a good reputation for e-bikers and electric devices in our town, if possible. I try to slow down around people and be pretty respectful, and most people have never seen these things, so they're usually very shocked to see someone coming at them at 15, 20 miles an hour on something they've never seen. So most people are extremely curious what it is, and you know, they stare at you and ask you what it is as you're going by. So it's pretty funny. When I started riding unicycles about 5, 6 summers ago now, I bought it was a Segway, I believe, and it was a two-wheeled, I believe it was a 14 or 16 inch unicycle, and it had like an 800 watt hour battery, went, you know, maybe 10 miles. Yeah, it went 10 miles, and it went maybe 10 miles an hour. And I saw that thing on Amazon for $300 6 summers ago, and I bought it, and I was like, this is going to be the coolest thing in the world. I thought it was just such a genius idea. And when I got it, I immediately figured out how to ride it. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I started riding it around town. Everybody started making fun of me and calling me names and douchebag, fag, loser, what's that piece of shit? Just the worst name calling you could ever imagine. And it was kind of embarrassing, honestly. It kind of hurt my feelings. And so you know, the summer after that, I still had that white Segway swag. Oh, it was a Swagtron. That's what it was. It was a Swagtron, two-wheeled, $300, 10 mile an hour, 10 miles per charge electric unicycle, two-wheeled, two wheels side by side. It was kind of a cheating device, but that's what was out back in the day. And I got to know how to ride that thing extremely well. And then the first real unicycle I really got was called the Tesla T2 or V2, Tesla T2 or something like that. And it was a 1500 watt battery and a 2000 watt motor. And the thing went 20, 30 miles an hour and would go 30 miles on a charge. And I had that probably 4 years ago now. And that was the first real unicycle I had. I had that for about a year and a half and then sold it. I put about 2,500 miles on the Tesla V2. It was extremely fun. I saw the Tesla V3 come out, and at the time, the Kingsong 16X had been out for a year or two, maybe even longer, maybe 2 years, and it had a really good track record. There was a guy in town, a friend of mine, and he actually had the 16X, the Kingsong 16X. And so I got to see him ride that thing. He weighed 50 pounds more than me, and he was taller than me, and he rode the thing amazing. He really loved it. He had a ton of miles on the thing. And so I sold my Tesla V2 with 2,500 miles on it for almost what I paid for it. A couple $100 less than what I paid for it. And then I put that money towards the Kingsong 16X, and I've had that now for 3 summers and still love it. I have about 2,500 miles on that. And then I got the Kingsong S22 about 3 summers ago now. And then I've had this V11 now for the last summer and then going into this summer. So it's been a 6-year journey of riding EUCs, and as you can see, I'm heading up into town in Fairhaven here. This is a really beautiful, very quiet little homey town. Lots of coffee shops, flower shops. There's newer high-rise apartment buildings, little hair salons, really great eateries, a little tea store. Really great area. Really great little outdoor music venues, little breweries, little dinner places. There's one over here with a Estelle that's got recently awarded some local food cuisine award. You can see that is can't remember the name of that. There's a little brewery sitting right there. Just can't remember the name. I go by it like 80 times a week, so it's kind of funny. I can't remember the name. But they have great beer and food, and you can see me crossing the road here as I'm heading to Hagen's. So it's funny, as you're crossing the road, like, people really stare at this thing because they have no idea what it is. I get a kick out of it every time. I usually try and race off and do some cool carves so people think I'm cool, you know? They don't think I'm some dork. I'm just kidding. Nerds are the cool people nowadays. And I would consider myself a pretty big nerd. I like cameras. I like doing a lot of things that I would think people would consider nerdy. But if that's the case, then everybody's a nerd. So hello to all my fellow nerds out there. Welcome. Comment nerd in the comments below. Comment electric unicycle. Comment I like to play outside all day. Tell me where you live. Tell me where you ride. What type of electric unicycle do you have? You can see it's starting to rain here, so I'm now hustling my way home, probably trying to burn through as much battery as I can, trying to speed up this hill. Really cool old style church. Love going by that thing. It's got some beautiful ornate glass on the outside that you can see, with really colorful glass. Can't remember the name of the style, but it's just stunning. It's in most churches, if not all churches. It's really beautiful. It's like colored panes of glass. I can't think of the name, but there's a little, I think this is an elementary school, and you can see the raindrops are hitting the road and the camera here, so I'm trying to get home. There's another little church. Bellingham has lots of schools, lots of churches, lots of apartments, lots of houses, many small businesses. Not too many large employers, but there are a few. So if you're moving from out of the area, from like a Seattle or a Portland or even California, a lot of people like the slower pace of life here, and it's just a lot quieter, not as much traffic, not as many people. I was born and raised in Bellingham. Been living here 37 years. I've lived in Vancouver, Canada, just north by about an hour. I've lived in Los Angeles, California for almost a year, about 9 months. And it's really, I always enjoy coming back to Bellingham, just because of the slow pace and, you know, certain areas and people and places and things. And yeah, I live here because of the nature, being close to Mount Baker. You've got Galbraith Mountain, you've got the ocean, you've got Lake Whatcom, Lake Patten, Samish, Lake Samish just down the road. And there's all sorts of mountain biking, skiing, boating in the San Juan Islands. You've got Canada up north, about an hour. Vancouver Island's about an hour away. Sunshine Coast is about 2 hours. Whistler, skiing and mountain biking is 2 or 3 hours away, depending on traffic and the border. Seattle from my house is an hour and a half. Bellevue is just a little bit farther. And yeah, it's been a great city to grow up. And I own a marketing agency for the last 12 years. Started that in Bellingham when that was not a thing, when the marketing agency was not a term. I started a web design, SEO, social media, and advertising company 12 years ago. Still do that. Love it. Have provided that for many years to customers. And about 3 years ago now, I started a commercial finance company. So I provide business loans to successful entrepreneurial businesses that are revenue generating companies. Typically, we quote businesses from $1 million up to multiple $1 billion and provide funding from 1,500 lenders that I've built over the last couple of years. And yeah, so that's a little bit about what I do and what I've been doing in Bellingham. Most people know me for my unicycle riding and my drone work, which is pretty funny. Most people don't even know that I provide marketing services or I own a finance company, but most of what I share online on my social media is photos of drones, electric unicycles, and just the photography I take. So when people see me and know me in town, they typically know me from my photography and me riding this bad boy around. So it's pretty funny. But here I'm heading down this extremely steep little back road back to my apartment building. And big bumps in the road there you can see. Suspension's really working on that V11. You can see I'm just giggling as I'm ending my ride, about ready to head home. And one last push. I got to go up this really steep little back road and then head up to my my building's entrance up at the top here. So that was about we're looking at a 37-minute ride, and I probably burned, 50%, 40% of the battery, have 60+% left. So this ride was probably 20 miles or less. And, most of my rides are between 15 and 30. 30 is when you're really planning to put on some additional miles. But this thing can do 20 miles and just eat it up all day long. So here I am in the elevator as I'm heading home. And just a super fun day, super fun ride. I get a lot of fun out of this. It's extremely relaxing and just a great way to disconnect from work and clients and stress and just have some fun with myself and be present with my thoughts and obviously get outside and enjoy nature as much as I can. Be around with friends. I know a bunch of one-wheelers and other electric unicycles and riders in town. And so I'll sometimes do, you can see me just laughing there. You can usually see me riding with other people in town, but sometimes it's nice to do the individual rides. Here I am. You can see the S22 on the ground there. So thank you so much for watching the video with me today, and hopefully you enjoyed this style. Let me know in the comments below what you liked, what you didn't, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.